Boom, baby. It's the Mimi Show. Back at it again. Back at it again. As always, I have to mention our sponsors and the support of love, like from viewers like you and that keep me here. Lil Skunky Products, JV Media Productions, and Olivia Jordan Photography. So if anybody has any questions about my sponsors, please send me a little message in a DM and an Instagram, or send me an email, and I'll give you whatever information you need. Today on the Mimi Show, we have back Howie.
Hey, what's up? Happy to be
And
here.
I know. Thank you. I'm happy that you're back. Last time it was so insightful. Yeah. So I did let you know that this time what I wanted to touch on was a little bit of a heavier topic. But one of the reasons why it means a lot to me is because I've never experienced it, Howie. I
We
still
can
have
talk
not.
about that.
I still have not dealt with losing a loved one. And I know it's coming. I know it's coming because I know my age. So if I know my age, I know what everybody around is, and I don't think I'm prepared. And I see friends lose family and friends lose friends, and I see what they go through, and I can't empathize because I don't believe that I don't believe that's one of the experiences that, well, unless you live it, you can't.
Fair
You
enough.
can't
Fair.
know. I feel like you can't know. It seems and it looks so intensely, sharply painful, and it's like condensed to a very short time. But I wanted to bring up those two topics. Is one is how to, how can I emotionally learn, or what can I do or think or know that can help me go through the future grieving of a loved one, and how can I be a good person to my friends and to my family when they're going through losses themselves. Because all I have is be there for them. That's all I say. Be there for them. And
No, I feel you. I feel you, and grateful to share this space to talk about such a strong topic, and because I'm grateful for this opportunity, because I don't think we just talk about it as a society, as a culture. I mean, no one wants to be like, hey, let's talk about it, right? This is not the fun party thing. But
it's a must.
It's a must.
It's part of life is death.
Yeah.
I'm scared of what I see others go through. I'm thinking, I don't know how I'm going to handle it. I don't know. I don't feel personally equipped to lose anyone, but we never are.
Yeah. And so, let me start off with, you're self-aware. You're already doing great just by being self-aware about yourself, this topic. And, I would actually challenge you with your first point of, you've never had to deal with loss. And I'm like, maybe you haven't lost people, but I think most people have had to grieve something at some point. Especially as, we talk about the aging topic, right? And, a big one is actually grieving dreams or opportunities that, passed you by or are just not accessible to you anymore. Some people, for example, it's like, when I was a kid, I want to grow up and I want to be like an NBA star, right? And I'm like, I'm in my 30s. I'm like, that's not happening. I could go ball with some friends at best, but that's part of, there's grief in there because you have to let go of that. You have to let go of that part of that little version of you that wanted to do that, as example. Or if anyone's, maybe a little more commonly, it's like you had to move from outside of your house to another house, or across town, across country, your lifestyle.
I have grieved. I grieved a relationship.
Loss of relationships.
I grieved a relationship that never existed.
Relationship
An
yeah.
idea of what I thought was. And then when I lost it all, I grieved an idea because it was never what I felt or wanted or anything. But I remember extended periods of just like, it was like
Mhm.
a, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And when I'm glad you brought up relationships, because it's not only just, oh, this person's not going to show up in my life day to day anymore, but also the hopes, dreams, future that you were thinking of, dreaming of.
No
Um,
longer exists. It's all
this
gone.
and anything from morning coffee to vacations, buy a house, build a life together. Those dreams all have to be grieved because it
Mm.
is a loss. And when you take the time to recognize just the magnitude of the loss, it's then you can start processing, down the road, but it's like, oh, I can have space and love for new dreams, different
Mm.
opportunities, right? We don't want to go, you know, in the context of like relationships, is like, oh, I don't want to go into the next relationship, but I still, for lack of better terms, have a little bit of baggage. We all have baggage, right? But it's, did I do my honest diligence in, unpacking it and letting it go?
Go. Holy ho. Those two words, let go. That's so hard. That's
Yeah,
so hard. No matter what it is, it's hard.
is yeah. You get better at it, but it never, I think, ever becomes easy.
I I I wonder if does it sound selfish then to worry when say if someone's passing for me to cry for my loss instead of crying for their passing?
Why is that?
Is that selfish?
Why, first, I'd look at it two parts. One is we talk about if it's selfish or not, and
Mm.
then the second part is, does it even make a difference if it's selfish or
Yes, it
not?
does.
No, tell me more. Say more.
Uh, well, let's say I say someone passed and I see someone else crying, right? Say that, and I know that they're crying for their experience. They're not really crying for his passing. They're crying for what they're losing because he passed or
Yeah,
she passed.
yeah.
I would think I would see that as selfish because it's like, well, I don't care right now. I can't care about how you thought life was going to be. I'm missing this person, and that's what I think is important, is the fact that this person, like grieving the person or grieving what you thought life was going to be with them in it, and it's not anymore. Isn't that selfish?
And so this is where I'd come from. Is one is there's no right way to deal with grief or loss.
Hmm.
And if anyone says
Okay.
there are perhaps marginally better ways, right?
Hmm.
Sit with friends, cry together, a little better than drinking a fifth of alcohol, right?
Yeah,
I think we can
a
agree.
lot of better.
But at the end of the day, I don't want to bring shame into such a painful
Ah,
place, right?
that's what I was doing, is making shame. Like, how dare you? Shame on
Right? Like,
you being selfish.
and so,
Ah.
even example of, oh, somebody somebody feels so terrible that they hit the bottle, right? And all I see is, wow, that person is so hurt and they're just doing the best they can to try to feel less hurt and just try
Mm.
to just stay above water. And I wish, I wish they had better tools. I wish they had better resources. I wish they had more community, but that's not my life. I can't I can't
Mm.
push it on them. I can't shame them. I'm just be like, if I have capacity, I'm gonna be there. If I don't, I'm gonna sincerely hope and pray you can find it elsewhere. And
Right.
maybe if you need to hit the bottle for a 1 day, 2 day, just to get you, to a point where you can breathe again, where you can ask and reach out for help, it's not my journey. I'm only here to bring love and compassion and support. And if I'm bringing shame or judgment, that's me.
Yeah, that was me. That was me being shame on you. Yeah. And that's not my job. And that shouldn't be what anyone does is the shame. I sure was doing the shame. Yep.
And then so I would ask you, and we don't have to bring it up if you definitely want you to feel power to decline, is who taught you to shame?
Oh, yes, my upbringing. That was a big deal. Shame is almost what makes you a good person, because you're not putting on other people things that make them uncomfortable about you. Like you have shame. It's like a good thing. Like you need to have shame.
And shame, I won't say you should not be, you should have zero shame. Shame is a community tool for sure, right? But I want to reflect what you said, is shame keeps you from doing things that other people will feel uncomfortable. You made an assumption that other people would be uncomfortable.
Yes, that's part of the shame is the prediction or predicting that particular behavior is not good.
And then I would say you were prioritizing someone else's comfort. You're making yourself smaller for someone else's comfort. Mm-hmm. Secondly, you don't trust yourself or the relationship to be like, hey, do you have the space for me to be a little more sad, grieving? It may a bunch of people grieving together at no point is a comfortable experience. I wish everyone had a party. I wish everyone was laughing and joyous and whatever. It's never comfortable, but that doesn't mean we have to make ourselves smaller. Because I would want you to have space to grieve. You are just as deserving as any other person. How's that feel?
I have to settle in it.
Sure, take your time.
Or let it settle in me. It's a new perspective to believe that about shame. To believe it that shame is not doesn't have a use.
It absolutely has a use. It absolutely has a use. It is used in many ways very terribly.
There we go.
I knew, I can say that easily from, men's lived experience perspective. I was shamed for having feelings. I was shamed for feeling weak. I was shamed for crying. I was shamed for being sad. And so the amount of time I was allocated by society was zero. And the amount of time I was taught to allocate myself was zero. So the only time my grief came out and all those big feelings come out was when I simply couldn't hold it in anymore. Oh. It wasn't my choice anymore. Yeah. It was simply my internals were like,
right? We're done. We can't take it.
It always explodes. It's always the worst possible time, the most inconvenient time and place, and all that. And so the skill is to develop, is to build a relationship with it. And also is to unlearn the shame. I'm allowed to be soft. I'm not going to be soft all day. I'm not going to be soft in places where, Mimi's going through her stuff and I just want to dump on her. That's not respect, right? That's not trust. Mimi says, I don't got it in me today. I'm like, I respect you. Thank you for that. I will take care of myself, or I'll go somewhere, find other resources. But that's the trust. I trust you. Mm-hmm.
That wasn't always the case in my life at all. To be now I have friends that's how we speak. We're like, hey, do you have 10 minutes? Could you hold space for me emotionally, or I need to vent, or yes, for sure. That. But that was never in my life. That never existed. It was there was a lot of predicting other people's needs, predicting other people's feelings, so that you don't make a mistake, so that you don't become an inconvenience. And
Did you hear that? You an
What?
inconvenience to who?
To them.
Do you hear that? Let's,
Yeah,
this is very
I am.
common in people of color families, right? We have Mimi. She's now in job. She has a job of taking care of other people's feelings. Not only take it, she must predict through sheer psychic powers, because we're not
Yep.
talking about, she must predict, and
Yes.
she must do it 100% of the time, because if she don't, she gonna get it.
Yep. She's a bad person,
She's a
and
bad
she's
person.
selfish, and
She's gonna pull her
she's
away.
right.
And then on top of that, how old were you when you learned this?
It was a constant lesson throughout my little kid and teen years.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
A little kid to teenager who's just trying to figure out how to live life now has
Yeah.
the burden
I'm trained.
of navigating multiple people's
Yep.
feelings, and you're
That's right.
responsible for it.
I was trained that way, and I remember, just to give you a subtext of how bad that was. We had I lived with a lady, because I didn't live with my family, with my mother, and she would, if she coughed at night, she was very old, so she coughed at night and I did not wake up and offer her water and check on her, I would get hell in the morning. And then her thing died. You heard me cough and you didn't get up and you didn't offer me water and you didn't check on me. I could have, so now I'm not sleeping all the way because I need to watch out for her coughing. So as soon as she coughs, I'm up. And that I was trained to predict the needs of other people. So because the idea was that if not, then I would be the one in the wrong. I would be causing an inconvenience and I would be ungrateful and all of those things of shame.
Yeah, and to, when I hear that, and first of all, I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that. I am also very proud and in awe of the strength that you had to get through that. That's not something that everyone has to go through.
It's crazy.
And
it's not right.
And I'm sorry.
And I think of that, and I tell people, when I tell people these stories, I laugh, because I guess that's now my coping mechanism is I laugh.
You have to laugh at it because of maybe it's the absurdity, or it's often there's also a bit of protection. I have to take it unseriously because if I recognize just how serious it.
Yeah. Because it has shaped a lot of the ways that I handle my relationships with people, intimate and unintimate, just friends, whatever. I'm very big on making sure that you're okay. And I pick out little things and use them as guide to know how you feel.
Hypervigilance, it's a real topic.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to bring up 2 points. One is shout out to all the oftentimes eldest daughters. This is a very common struggle among eldest daughters. And the second all is, here's an example, very powerful example, where it's like you were taught that your needs came second or your needs came last.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I hear you say things like, oh, I'm worried about being selfish, I am also hearing you were taught that your needs came second or last.
Yeah, it's affected how I feel about myself throughout my life, like to the point where I can say now this is probably the most self-esteem that I've ever had, because having self-esteem is not a good thing, because you're not supposed to feel vanity. You're not supposed to enjoy it, that if you're attractive, you're not supposed to, this is shameful. This is not good. It doesn't make you a good person. And these are all the things, that shaped me to where now I'm looking at friends that have people pass, and I'm seeing how I'm getting up there in age, so that means that I'm coming up on it, and all I feel is shame.
I definitely empathize with you. And I also want to bring to light, remember I said shame has its uses, it's just used a lot of times poorly. Like great example you brought up is like, oh, society, we have all these expectations of women. Hey, women, you should be hot and sexy, but we're going to make you feel bad for being hot and sexy. It's like, what? Right? And
Mm,
especially for those who are navigating more conservative cultural backgrounds, or especially here in America, where you have the intersection of maybe more traditionally conservative backgrounds with more tradition or more liberal. I'm going to use the word
yeah.
liberal or open-minded,
I
right?
battle both. I battle between both because
And
of the upbringing in the Christianity church,
mhm,
Pentecostal, where you can't wear pants or
mhm.
shave your legs
or
or any of those things.
or we blame the woman for if something went wrong, or she was too sexy, or she drew too much attention, it was her
Right.
fault, and we're
It's your
not blaming.
fault.
And it's like,
Yep.
wait, what? So before I do want to get into the grief part, because I want to honor your topic, but part of learning, you have to learn how did shame, how was it supposed to work? And it's meant to be part of the community aspect, right? If I live by myself, I don't have to worry about shame, because if I live by myself, there's no one else in the world. Who cares what I wear? If
There's no
or wear
judgment.
anything, there's no judgment, right? It's not going to affect my community support, because I just don't have community. I'm not, my eating or food or all that is not affected because I don't affect it. But when we live in community, shame is a means of, oh, I don't want to harm the community, because we're all different people and we have all different needs, or we can tolerate or not tolerate. And so there's legal, right? It's like shame's like, we're gonna do clothing, right? People go outside clothing. What you do in your house is your problem. You don't have to wear anything in your house. You just have to negotiate with anyone in the house. But when you go outside, we said XYZ, you have to wear stuff. And
Right.
if you don't, we cast shame on you because you're
Yeah.
breaking a community agreement. That's the example. We also have, for example, shame of like, oh, so it may affect some people livelihood. For example, I use the one with peanuts, right? And I have a peanut allergy, and some people are like, oh, why does everyone care about a peanut allergy?
It's
And
a
it's like,
thing. It's
I've met
dangerous.
one kid who was like a half a breath away, and I don't know how severe it is, but it's also not my problem. If they tell me I can't be within 50 feet, I'm just going to be like, I'm not going to bring you with 50 feet. I can accommodate that. This is not an inconvenience to me. And so that's, example of looking out for the community.
In
It's
Puerto Rico, we have
mhm,
something called poca vergüenza, and
mhm,
we say that to you if you do something shameful. You like you. It literally translates to little shame.
mhm.
¿Qué poca vergüenza es esa? What kind of little shame thing is that? But in Spanish, it sounds, and it's made to feel bigger than what it sounds like in English. You have
Yeah,
little shame.
I
Um,
I get
you
that.
know, yeah,
You know,
it's a common thing to say. Almost, it's a thing.
yeah, and people don't realize it's used to control someone else's behavior. That's
Mm.
what it. And you most see it.
Whoa.
You most see it commonly from parents to kids, right? We're going to teach you to be
Right.
shameful about this, because I don't have the tools to teach it to you in another way, or I don't have the tools
Right.
to learn how to accept it.
Right.
And
How
that's
to
a big thing.
protect you.
Hmm.
How
And
to.
so
Okay.
they use shame and pain as like,
No, I see it. Oh God, yeah.
You, it
It
seems like
does
you gotta
save
pick.
you though.
Hmm?
It does say it does save, well, early on when you're learning how to live, having the shame, and it does save you from problems. It
Yeah,
just, as you grow, it doesn't serve you the same.
yeah. And so as a kid, we teach kids, hey, shame on you if you bullied another kid. Yeah, because as a dumb 5-year-old, affectionately, right? You don't know better, right? You have the knowledge and regulation of a
Right.
5-year-old. So you
Yeah.
have to learn the shame of, oh, it's in to stay in this community. It's not okay to beat up other kids. Got it, right? Some kids learn it better, some kids don't, but the messaging is there. It's just when it's used in ways to try to control other people because we have our discomfort. That's
Hmm.
the biggest one that I see.
That's right. And that's what it was. It was used to shame me into manipulation,
Mhm.
so that I can move accordingly to their needs.
Mhm.
Um, and then, since this person was a lot older, I'm sure that they had their fears of passing, and that may have been one fear that they had, that one day they would, stop breathing in their sleep, or
Mhm.
and so they had put they almost I almost got allocated the task to keep me alive, so to speak, keep them alive.
I want to I
That's
want to
weird.
challenge you gently. You said it was like you were allocated. What if it was just was somebody in a very not great way
Hmm.
gave you this job that you didn't consent to
Yeah.
because their fear, I need you to do these things to soothe my fear, which is
Yeah.
something that'll never work out because it's an external thing trying to
Right.
soothe an
You need to
internal
take care of me. You, child, must take care of me because you're young and you have energy, and I might not be here. So you need to take care of me to make sure I stay here.
and
That's a lot of responsibility to put on children, which Latinos do. The
hey,
expectation of the kids, you're gonna take care of mommy.
guess
I would never do that to my children. But that is
guess what,
definitely a thing.
Latinos, you don't get a monopoly on that.
Oh, really? You got that too?
Most
You got
people
to
got
take care of your elders.
is it's any pretty much any hierarchical community.
Mm,
So for example, in many Asian cultures, it's often based by age.
mhm,
Respect your elders, right?
mhm,
Or even for example, in languages like Korean, the way you talk to people, the way you name people is derived based on your age, right?
mm,
How I talk to an older man is different from a younger to a peer, right?
mm.
And then if you're an uncle, which uncle? How are you related? Or your grandpa, or grandma, or mom's side, or dad's side, or whatever, right? You
Does
have
that
all these
make different
names.
levels of shame? Since you have different
I
different
mean,
ways of addressing people, then does your care then differ?
so it's I'm not going to say it as an authority, but I can definitely say that I've experienced people who are like more chill, and there's like age whatever, right? And there's some people who are like, no, you must address me properly, and there's the shame. You must address me properly based on age, something that neither of us can control.
Right.
And so that's one of the for me is actually a struggle to live and operate in very dominant Asian culture or places, because you have to be so mindful of all these things. It's
Mm.
called a high context society, but it's exactly what you're describing. It's like, I must look for all these little bits of information so that I can predict how I should act and who needs attention or
Whew,
whatever.
that's heavy. That's a lot of pressure.
And so for me, I'm just like, yeah, tack on my neurodiversity. I'm just like, I would be overwhelmed in a half a second. I'm a stand in a corner because that's like the best that I can do.
I think I did that. I think there were times when I remember, later I learned that it was self-soothing. I was self-soothing.
Yeah.
Um, I'd sit in a corner, with a lotion, and I would just rub layers of lotion on my legs over and over and over for hours, because I wasn't allowed to watch TV unless they were watching TV, and then I would watch whatever they wanted to watch. So, and that was my time spent was. And then later in life, I'm like, I realized, oh, you were self-soothing. Yeah. You were giving yourself a touch. You were giving yourself a hug. That was your way of giving you self-care.
Real talk. I'm, maybe not hyper specific to lotion, but damn, there's a lot of people who had their own version. And, even knowing that you're a kid and it's like, I'm not saying you get all the freedom and responsibilities, but you didn't even get the little bit to just pick what you wanted to watch on TV, and that's to me that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, you had, and then when they did put the TV, it was like really drama, like so much drama, like novelas. Have you
all these telenovelas?
Yeah, like, oh my God, it was my brother and it's the twin. Yeah, now she's coming from the grave. I thought you were dead. No, I just married your sister. We get
Korean dramas, and
yes, like, oh my God. Yeah, that's a lot. That's what, when it was time to watch TV, it was that. And even the news had things that were intense in a way that was not news. Like we had horoscope in the news.
Wow.
There was the man, his name was Walter Mercado. And he would give the horoscope in the news, in between the news. And he'd look at the camera, Virgo, this and this and this and this. Go to Pisces, this and this and this and this. And it was like, that's a lot. That's a lot. So you give me the news and you're giving me about things that haven't even happened, that you're telling me there's a possibility and that I need to behave in a certain way to follow the line of my horoscope. It's so much predicting. There was a lot of predicting.
It's so much not living in the present. You're always around the future. How hard it is to just live in the present.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
If you need space to cry, I'm here for it. If we want to cut a break too and stitch it together, it's fine too. But just communicating, we got space for all of you.
Yeah. But that's it. That's it. You said it. Say it again.
You're trying to predict the future and you're not living in the present.
I'm not living in the present.
All the anxiety and fear and shame about stuff that ain't even here.
Right. And here, and ergo, the topic of the thing, which is
grief,
losing loved ones, which I have not. Yes.
We'll
it's almost like I'm again my trying to be prepared, but I have had recently lots of friends that have lost loved ones, and I don't know how to behave. The best thing I could do is tell them that I'm here and literally just be there, but I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to ask them. I don't know.
So I'll give you I'll give you a little background, for myself. I definitely remember in the grade school, one kid had passed away, and it was like genetic disorder, like sort of thing. And it was maybe into my 20s that I started, I had peers who passed away from like an accident or something. And I want to be very clear, at that point, I did not grieve because I didn't know how. And, I distinctly remember in university, I had a family friend who our families were very close, and I'm actually, they're a Greek family, okay? Super, super Greek white family. But family friends, I would spend holidays with them. And I'm named after the grandpa. So Papu is Greek for grandpa. And so his name's Howard. I was named Howard, but I'm Howie because we got to differentiate.
Right.
and he had a stroke. You know, put on machine, kept alive, but you know, doctors like, you know, nope. And I like rushed down to go there, and it was, you know, there was a lot of family there, but when it came to just turning off the machine, we didn't want some rando person to do it. We wanted people meaningful to do it. But it was, I remember it was just like me and my sister and one auntie, and my sister was crying. And you know, at this point you have to understand she's my older sister. We had a tough relationship. I was annoying little brother, right? But I remember her really crying. And I remember being like, you're not allowed to cry right now because you got to be strong for her. We can't both be crying. And I took that, and I didn't properly grieve. I didn't even know how to ask myself what were my needs. I didn't know how to, you know, with on top of the shame for asking for help as a man, right? I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to reach out to community. And so, you know, I take that, and, you know, moving along more towards more recent life, just want to just plug it. I want to plug answering your questions because I want to have a sense of it for you and anyone listening. Is like, one is, there's no right way to grieve. Don't worry about saying the right thing. I would say don't try your best to not say invalidating things. Like, don't be sad. I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not the greatest, but it's like, it's about making the space for all these big, hard, fast, confusing feelings. Yeah, you can ask people, hey, if you got it, and yet, can you tell me what you need? And if you don't know what you need, or you don't have the capacity, that's okay too. We'll figure it out as we go along.
How can I be there for you? You tell me how you need me to be there for you. Is that what you're?
I give you permission. And to, you know, maybe you can add a little bit of grounding, like, hey, I can't meet every one of your needs, right? Maybe it's like you call me at 2 a.m. and I'm sleeping. Like, I apologize, you know, if I can't meet your need, but can you trust me that I'll do my best, knowing that I won't be able to do everything? And it's not all on you either. Make out other friends, bring it community, elder professionals, right? You want to talk, if it's accessible, I still recognize, you know, resources like therapists are hard to reach for many people. And, you know, if it's not for you, maybe it's like, hey, I need a coach or a death doula.
You know what I just realized?
Yeah.
That I have had someone pass, but I never grieved them because I was little and my perception of death was not a bad one. I was 7.
Say more.
I was 7, and my dad passed, but he didn't live in the house with us. He was just in and out of the house.
Yeah.
And my idea was that when you die, you go to heaven.
Okay.
So when I remember my aunt came, and her and my mom told me, you know, Miraida, your dad, he's gone to heaven. And I was cool with it. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it almost made sense.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he's gone. Now it makes sense why he's gone, and he's gonna be gone because that's what every day at church they keep telling us that we're trying to do is get to heaven. You know, so it's like, oh, okay. And I never grieved my father.
Not saying, you know, not pushing that we have to do any grieving or what, but I just want to say, thank you for realizing it right now.
Yeah. Do you think it'll come out one day, like while I'm eating ice cream or something, or do you think I need to have Like I need to have a moment and just like go through it and process it, and like I need to make it happen. Do I need to make it happen? No, right?
I don't believe in forcing it. I believe that you can maybe like be like, you know, for example, like a meditation, be like, I'm making the space to explore any stuff that might be backed up in me. And that might be one of the things that pops up, right? Make space for it, but don't force it.
Yeah.
And you know, if
I
in
didn't see
your
it as a bad thing. I
yeah,
was like, okay, cool. That's okay. Okay. It made sense almost. It was almost like I was able to play and move forward.
yeah, and I actually wanted to bring a part of that up, which is like as you grow, evolve, change, age, your perspectives on all these topics will grow, change, whatever. And so maybe you get to a point where your view on aging changes. You're like, oh, it becomes a topic in your head and it becomes a topic in your heart. And then maybe you feel called to like examine your relationship with that lack of grief. Or maybe this is the time, right? And the whole point of bringing that up is just to be like, well, if that happens, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. There's no timeline. There's no right way. It probably, if it happens, it'll probably be uncomfortable, but that's okay too.
Is it normal to grieve your own passing?
Yeah, you can.
Like to cry for knowing that you're gonna leave?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people with really powerful imaginations, with a lot of, you know, optimism and joy and all
That's
these
me.
feel good feelings,
That's
they
me.
might be like, I wrote a list of 10,000 things I want to do, and I know right now I will not do it all. And they are grieving that loss. They just simply just like, I just want to do so much in life, and I just won't be able to. Yeah, that's the definition.
It's a limited time.
And so, we balance it out, right? Don't get overwhelmed by all the things you can't do.
Yeah.
Also, component of, I'm grateful I got to do 2 things off the list,
And
or
living
3
and
things,
living
or
in the
10,
moment, what you were saying.
right?
Living the
Living in the
now.
moment, because I don't know if I got the next moment. Because if I go off this world tomorrow, my list is at 0. But I'm grateful that I got to try. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to dream, right? Because I know that not everyone gets to dream, or not everyone feels safe to dream, or not everyone feels taught to dream, or there's people suffering, hunger, lack of shelter, war. They don't get to dream in that moment sometimes, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. I That's wild. That's wild. I want to, and I think I have felt for myself, seeing that there could be an end, especially being a mom, seeing that there's going to be a time where I won't be there, but they'll be there. Like that's where the whole selfishness comes to play. It's like, what do you care about you? It's them, you should worry about them and how they're gonna feel. And I'm like, but I'm not gonna be there. It's like an attack to myself. I can't even feel without judging myself,
Right. And I'd be like, oh man, what a basis of love that you wish you could be there for everything in your child's life, knowing that you won't be able to. And it goes back to something that I actually had to navigate with aging and parents and whatever, which is like, basically there's just these 3 combinations. Either my parents pass first, I pass first, or we all go at the same time. Right?
Those are odds. Yeah.
Those are your options. It's some
Right.
combination, therefore.
Right.
The natural one is if your parents pass first. Everyone going at the same time, not that great.
Right.
Parents losing a child is a soul-crushing thing. And so, this is, between these three shitty options, there's one that's, one could argue, least shitty.
One right for me.
Right. And so when you say things like, I'm grieving that I won't be able to experience everything, my kid, I'm just like, yeah, but that's very limited on this physical plane. I would like to hope that, your relationship is full of love, and that there will always be a piece of you, and that you're actually carrying the generations of varying degrees of love and varying degrees of way, and various forms. And
it's almost like accepting death is by realizing your life, like having a conscious like you were saying in the moment. Yeah, you accept the death by actually living your life, by doing and using the time to create existence and experiences in your existence, because that this is it.
Yeah, you've hit it bang on. Right? The people worried about dying are just worried about dying. They're just trying to do everything they can to avoid something that's guaranteed to happen. And I don't want to be taken to the, extreme as like, oh, just live us, or just, eat, drink, and destroy your body. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is like, take ownership. Some days you need rest. It's complex, right? Some days go out, do the thing. Some days you need rest. Some days give love. Some days take love.
Acknowledge life being a plethora of feelings, emotions, experiences. But this is it.
This is it.
And this is the why.
Right. And, we see it so often actually with people who chase money. And the reason I bring it up is because, and to be clear, if you want to be wealthy, be rich, go for it. I support you chasing your dream. What I caution against is you spend your energy and your time, the thing you don't know how much you have, to try to convert it into money.
That's limited.
You can't do the reverse.
Yeah.
You can't go to a billionaire and be like, well, I'm a billionaire 200 years, 300 years. Maybe in the future, robot bodies, the Matrix is reality. I don't know.
I think Steve Jobs talked about that. He's the one that passed, right? Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
He's not. I think he talked about that, about how he had all the money, but he couldn't buy more time.
You couldn't. And something, I only have a little experience, but I actually talk with a lot of elders, is like, at some point you grow old, and what a blessing it is to grow old, because not everyone gets to do that. But at some point you're also like, passing is a blessing too, because it is, no matter which way you see it, whatever suffering you have will end. If it's health, or maybe you just miss your loved ones throughout your life, your suffering is guaranteed to end.
That's a way to see it.
I'm not there yet, but
but it's a kind of sad way to see it, but it is a way to see it, that you're it's no longer, there's no bad feelings that'll ever happen again to you, but then there's also no good feelings ever again.
You just don't have to carry it. You won't have to carry it all. And I think about it, it's like, if you had to carry the weight of your, parents, those loss, and maybe peers, and maybe your dreams, maybe, life gets a lot. And I'm like, I hope you get some happy, those moments. I hope you get all the full experience. That's all I'm saying, is I hope you get the full experience, and when the story ends, wherever you go, I'm not pushing if you're afterlife or religion, whatever, but like wherever you go, that's what you get to take onto your next step. And the people's and experiences that lives you've touched, they get to carry a bit of you too. And that's life.
That's deep, Howie.
Overthinking.
But you're used to deep, right?
Overthinking. Let me tell you.
That's what you do, though, right? This what you do, though. You do the deep thoughts. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where we find where we need to work on is in these deep thoughts, going deep.
Yeah.
To get
and I have to put the boundaries on myself to not, like just spiral out of control.
Oh man, yeah.
I also have to be like, I have to think about me just so that in a way I can love present me and future me. I can love present me and set future me up for 1% better success, right? I don't, because otherwise I'm just avoiding, and sometimes it's okay, but I can't avoid everything forever.
Right. Well, before we finish, I want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
I like to try to leave people with something, or whoever watches.
Before we do that, I wanted to make sure if we covered all the topics around grief.
We did. I that's where the closer is coming from, is from those two topics, because I hadn't realized that I hadn't grieved my dad, and then I still don't know how the heck I'm supposed to do that, because I feel like you grieve because you have a connection or a feeling, and I don't think my relationship ever got that far.
Fair.
I was 7, and then he wasn't really in the house. He was just in and out,
Yeah.
So I don't think I built a bond, but I do have memories, but all those memories just bring me joy.
I would actually, based on our conversation today, if you're up for it, consider grieving those hope streams that little Mimi didn't get to experience, the childhood that she didn't get. Because, from it sounds like, I'm sure there were happy points, right? But it sounds like there was a lot of shit that I wish you didn't have to deal with.
Yeah, it was not a good childhood. But there were some happy points, and recently I've been trying to remember those.
Yeah.
For the sake of my family, because every story that mom talks about being a kid can't be sad.
Yeah.
I gotta say some good stuff. But yeah, okay. I think that would help to know what that feeling, then to get in touch more so with letting go. That's where my point was going to go of closing it, is about letting go.
Absolutely. The thing I see the most is very common.
I'm not good at that, Howie. I'm not good at that.
Let me tell you, it's okay, because it's a very common thing, and I don't want, what I'm going to say is not, I don't want it to be interpreted as a bad thing or criticism, because it's frankly none of my business, right? But I see it so often that a parent had a really struggled childhood, and they want to give their child the childhood they never have. And it comes from a wonderful place, but it's also all about you and the childhood you didn't have, and the things you are grieving, things you wish you had. And it's so important I bring it up, because when you're busy pushing the child you wish you had onto your child, you're not making space for your child to have the childhood that they wanted, which is the same shit that you didn't get. And that's how trauma gets perpetuated. It's with the best intentions.
Right. But it's still,
the end is the same.
That's selfish.
You want
your
child to have your childhood.
Right. Instead of being there in the moment, more living in the moment. Right now, make sure the child lives its life, its best life, with its choices.
Yeah. And so hearing you say that, I'm like, she gets it.
Okay. Thank you, Howie. It was a great hour.
Yeah. So,
I'm
you know,
excited for next time.
I'm,
I think I learned a lot, and I almost cried twice, and then I cried once a little bit. That's okay.
I'm glad you could bring all of you to the table.
I had some awarenesses, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate what I'm going to be able to share from this. It's going to be a good things to share, and I hope that you can come again, and that I do something in your life, in a
You
weird
are.
day, in a weird way.
I can I can tell you, I'm practicing gratitude. If anyone wants, just watch this, practice gratitude. Again, I'm so grateful that you do all this labor to produce and make this happen. I want to be back because it's just so fun to have this community, have this fellowship around these topics that are near and dear to me, and sounds like important to you too. So it gives me space, and especially when I hear other people's experiences, then I can be like, oh, I learned something new. I see something new. I connected in a way that I didn't know I could. You know, you bring up some of your own culture and your experiences, right? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen that 1,000
Yeah,
times. And
me
you've
too.
seen it 1,000 times, right? And
It's
I've
not
seen
just
it.
Latinos.
No, and so this is this kind of stuff that's like, oh, I can connect to people. This is not the happiest, thrillingest way, but I can connect to people. Less division,
It's a
more.
good. I think it's beautiful to be able to go to the those places though and come back out. Like
Yeah.
we can leave the show in the thought of gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
like you were talking about, from understanding and from being able and having the ability to go into the dark
Mm-hmm.
and come back out,
Yeah. We can.
because that wasn't always, I can say, at least for me, I'm not one to go into the darkness. All my friends know that, because I feel like I need help coming out. So it's
Okay.
very good feeling of strength to be able to go explore this heavy feeling, and then come back out and go back in now
Yeah. I,
and
I
be
hope you
grateful
get
for right now.
I hope you get a chance to appreciate your power. That's just raw power.
I did it. We did it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Howie. This is the end of our show. Again, thank you. I appreciate you. I know you'll be back, and that was the Mimi Show, y'all. Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye.
Thanks.